Welcome back to Autism Spectrum Resources for Marriage and Family. I'm your host, Dr. Stephanie Holmes, and I have two guests with me today, Heidi Hackney and Robin Brooke. Welcome to the show, ladies.
Thank you. It's good to be here.
Thank you.
I'm going to have you guys introduce yourself in a moment, but our main reason for being here today is I think it's you, Heidi, that I met in a neurodiverse peer support group for those of us who work with neurodivergent individuals and marriages. And you were talking about Autistic Voiceover Artists, and that really piqued my interest because I've got so many young adults who are looking for things to do, meaningful work, and that's really our main thing for today. But before we go there, I'd love to have you guys introduce yourself first. Then we'll talk about how y'all got into this, because I think that's an interesting story, and then what listeners could learn if they want to connect with you. So Heidi, will you start by telling us a little bit about yourself, your clinical background, your education, and all that good stuff?
Sure. Thanks, Stephanie. We appreciate this opportunity too very much. Yeah, I am an autism coach. I work with adults 25 and older, any range of age above age 25. I came to this profession because my husband's on the spectrum, which is what got me interested and started. And he and I worked out a lot of strategies ourselves so that we'd have a happy marriage. Prior to that, though, my education is in psychology, gerontology, and human development. I have a master's in human development. I have a previous career in clinical research where I did a lot of travel. And then when we adopted our child, then I was a stay-at-home mom, and I did a lot of nonprofit work. I served on nonprofit boards, did a lot of recruiting, training, and that kind of thing. So I have a mixed bag of experience.
Clinical and lived experience.
Yeah.
All that in one. What about you, Robin?
I'm kind of on the opposite end of that. My background is professional theater, stage. And so I'm a union actress. It's what I've always done. And just a little bit over 20 years ago, I thought I needed a plan B. And it was when voiceover was starting to emerge. I remember telling people I'm in voiceover. I'm a voiceover talent. And they'd say, "What's that?" And it's a totally different world today. It's kind of like real estate in the early 2000s. It's booming. It's just crazy. So I got into voiceover and just grew into that. My main area is the character area. I do a lot of dubbing of foreign films, TV, cartoons. You would hear a lot of the stuff that I do on Amazon Prime, Hulu, Netflix, if you're watching a foreign film and it's dubbed, and so many other areas of voiceover. So I have been teaching that as well as doing that for 20-something years now. And that's, in an odd way, how I met Heidi.
All right, that's the story. So how did the two of y'all meet, the clinician and the theater actor?
Yes. It started because a friend that Robin and I have in common started posting on his social media that he was getting into voiceover and he was starting to do audiobooks. And I was looking for something fun to do. So I reached out to him and I said, "Well, how do you do this? This sounds like a lot of fun." And he introduced me to Robin. I attended one of her webinars, booked a session with her where she sends people a script. She sent me scripts and I practiced. We met for an hour and we played around with character work, audiobook, commercials, and she typed my voice. At the very end, she said, "Well, how do you know our friend?" And I said, "Well, he and I are both coaches, and I just recently became an autism coach." And that's when Robin lit up and shared this dream she had about having a nonprofit training program for adults on the spectrum for voiceover. And it really was born out of that introduction. And Robin, if you want to share your side of the story.
Yeah, so that dream came about because prior to the COVID shutdown, I was working with a very large voiceover training and demo production company, and they would fly me all over the country. I might be in Sioux Falls, South Dakota, or Miami, or New York, or Denver, and I was teaching how to get into voiceover. And I noticed across the board, there was a very large population of autistic, what I thought mostly male, young males in their 20s at that time, usually with a parent attending, and their desire since they were tiny was to do this, was to do cartoons, video games. But the program that I was working for was not a good fit for them. And I knew it was not going to be a good fit. And so they were so disappointed. I set out to look to find places to send them to and realized there were none. And so I was thinking there needs to be something that bridges that gap of, the desire and the wanting to do it and understanding how to navigate the industry. How does it work? How do I make this happen for myself? Can I make this happen for myself? Do I really want to, now that I know what it is and what it involves? And it just went around in my head, but I needed that other half, that person that was less of the artist and more of the expert. And we collided. Heidi and I collided, and it was just like ding, 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 ding.
All right. I love this. So it seems to I can't remember how I heard about it. Maybe you just mentioned it in passing in our group that meets on Fridays. I was like, that is so cool for those who would have stage fright or social anxiety, who would really want to be in theater or voiceover work or something, who have talent, because a lot of the young adults that I know who have some theatrical ability can really do accents well or mimic very voices well, but then are terrified about being on a stage or critiqued or, all the different political stuff that can happen in theater and getting roles. And I was like, this is way cool. I've got to have them on to talk about this. So I'll throw it back to you, Robin. When you said the program you were in at that time just wasn't going to be a fit for them to help them navigate. So let's kind of talking about, as you're creating this idea, I needed the other half. You're the kind of theater piece and you've got the coach piece together, but what started like, oh man, to make this work for autistic young adults and young people, we need to what? What were the things you needed to put in place, Robin?
I wanted to understand basic formulas on the comforts, the discomforts, and yet, as a board member of ours said, if you know one person with autism, you know one person with autism. And I say it's true of neurotypical as well. If you know one neurotypical, you know one neurotypical. There can't be any generalization. But the very interesting thing that I have learned over the past year of doing this, and I'm a private coach as well, and I coach both neurotypical and neurodivergent. And what I see is that the fears are the same fears. It's kind of the same. But what I knew from the program was it was very cookie cutter. And it's one reason I left the company was because I felt a lot of people couldn't be serviced that were even neurotypical because the program was very cookie cutter when maybe a person needed more this and less of that. And could there be a program where it wasn't just private coaching, where we could cover all bases and all the needs, and people could either go here or go there. And the coach or the instructor in a group class, it might come into the class saying, I'm going to teach this, but depending on how the class goes and who shows up for it, you might bob and weave a little bit here or there. So I think as instructors at AVA, we need to really listen and feel the vibe of the class and what is needed for comfort and fun and engaging and instructing. And what we are finding is people are coming in a little tentatively, but they're like gangbusters. They're sending us emails, I love it, can we do, and we say, what do you want more of? What do you want less of? What do you really like? And I'm on a path now where I'm in the hot zone. I can see where people are really, as one of the students says, digging it. So Yeah, it's exciting. It's really exciting to know we're making a difference.
And so, Heidi, what do you bring to this? Where's the autism coach come into play into this interaction?
Combination of the autism coach. Robin is a great student. She's a quick learner. I recommended books to her. She ate them up. I mean, she just read them and devoured them, and she got it very quickly, very quickly. And we both have such similar values that we needed this place to be safe. We needed it to be friendly. We needed it to be fun. And to do that, we make adjustments, and she's good at teaching on the fly that way and making those adjustments. And the other thing was what Robin had brought to me was, Heidi, this has to be affordable. This has to be affordable. And that's where the nonprofit came in. Well, we both have background in nonprofit startups and management. So while Robin was continuing coaching and thinking about content and developing content, I'm in the background doing paperwork and filing with the IRS and keeping operations going. And so in that way, and Robin totally understood what it took and what I needed to be doing. And so that's where we made a good partnership that way as well. So I brought autism, and I also brought a business know-how and nonprofit know-how too.
Okay, so with Autistic Voiceover Artists, let's kind of start getting into some of the nuts and bolts, like age that you serve, what type, so all the different things. You mentioned a bunch of different things that you can do with voiceover work, but then navigating the industry, I think that would be the hardest part for any neurotype. But kind of, so take me through, like, okay, let's say I found a young adult and they really are interested, and I'm like, oh, you've got to go to Autistic Voiceover Artist. What kind of things could I tell them to be kind of prepare them for what they would experience or what they're looking for, or how you would match them or help them?
Mm-hmm.
Heidi?
Yeah, so it is for adults. It is for people 18 and over. And again, that is intentional because of the cliff, because we want it to make something available for those who are getting out of high school, but they're not quite sure what to do. And that next decade, what they call the lost decade, is maybe not so lost. And so that's the first thing they can expect. They're going to be with their peers. And secondly, it's online. So we have a global presence already. We have people from all over the world, literally, who are calling in and signing up for a program. So it's multicultural, and there's a lot of exposure in that way. It is both online recorded content, so they can watch it as many times as they want. They can, like Robin said, they are focused on character work, most of them, so they can just dive into the character work and forget audiobooks or whatever. And then Robin is offering 2 live classes a week, and that's where we're seeing full attendance at every one of these classes. It's like they don't want to miss it. And where Robin mentioned cookie cutter, this is far from cookie cutter. Robin is able to write scripts that are designed for that one voice in the class. And like you mentioned, Stephanie, it's the navigating the business, it's navigating equipment and technology and all that goes around. That's where we differ from commercial schools, is that our content, our curriculum truly is comprehensive. And we're not leaving any guesswork for them to figure out on their own.
Okay. All right. So we have that. We've got to navigate the technology. And then, so Robin, tell me about, like, when you're hearing a voice or kind of talking with a student on what they want to do, or creating scripts for character and voice typing. These are all new concepts to me. So talk to me, because I'm a beginner, on kind of how you would do that with one of your clients.
So the way we work in voiceover, which I think is the beautiful thing, and if you understand it, it's very helpful. So I always use myself to describe. I am Heidi knows I'm the Energizer Bunny. I do not stop. I'm a very high energy person. I'm in general very positive. I'll take a bad thing and make lemonade out of lemons. My voice sound is not that.
It does not match.
It does not match. So if you listen to my voice, it's very monotone. So if I were just speaking in my living room without trying to sound, okay, I'm happy and I'm excited about this, but if I'm just talking, it's very monotone. There's a sort of a bored sound. I remember in high school, people always thought, oh, we just thought you were so snobby. It's a very bored sound. So my area where I have always worked is that villain, that, oh please, I can't be bothered. When I dub telenovelas, I'm that bad one. I'm the evil queen. I'm that person. As long as you know what type you are and where you fit and you can go for those things, you're going to work. If I was going for the Snow White, Cinderella type things, I would never get work. I would get very frustrated. I would say, oh, this voiceover thing is just for the birds. It doesn't work. But if you know, as I say, your lane, some people say it's your money voice, it's your signature sound. I just say it's my lane. I know where my lane is. Now I could be really versatile and do that little old lady on the porch type thing like that. So I do characters. I can do different characters. What I found in the classes that I was teaching when I traveled was there was a huge amount of that, the ability to mimic, the ability to, the thing I find very interested is for people that would like to keep their cameras off and stay very private, they go 200%. All out for their character. And I don't want to generalize, but in the neurotypical world, I see a little more holding back and you have to pull it out of people. Whereas in this community, it's so much fun to work in classes because everyone's just going for it. They are just 200% going for whatever it is I'm asking for. And I wanted to bounce really quickly on what Heidi said about being affordable. A lot of those larger programs, it's an all or nothing, do or die. If you want to do the program, you sign up for $4,000, $5,000, $6,000 to do the whole program. What if you decided a month in, oh, maybe I don't want to do this after all? You're locked into that. You still owe the rest of those payments. And that's where we said, we don't want that. We want people to come play and stick their toes in the water, and it's just a month by month thing. They can stay forever. They can leave after a month. They can leave after 6 months. We want to take away any, we don't want anyone. Yeah. So I think that's important. And also within the video library, my biggest thing is remembering there are people that are coming in for fun and to play and do voices. There are people that are coming in that already have their equipment, that are having trouble navigating, that need to understand what an NDA, non-disclosure agreement is if you're doing a video game and you can't talk about it. If they need to understand how to treat their space so that it absorbs sound or blocks sound. So the classes run the gamut. There's everything there. And there's even, I'm very into mindset. I like to do classes on procrastination and persisting and pushing through your discomfort. So we've added that as well for voiceover success, but I think it's also life success. And then each class is broken into tiny modules. So they could say, oh, well, I want to find the part about equipment. I want to find the part where we talk. They don't have to watch the whole video. They can bounce around and maybe watch a little of this and watch a little of that. So we've got a lot of things that you wouldn't normally find in a standard voiceover training program. But I think mostly the mindset and the tiny modules and their ability, if they want to watch them at 2 a.m. or 6 a.m, they can watch them wherever they want. And it's
multiple times.
Yes.
The live classes are recorded as well. So we're very mindful of time zones. I try to always do live classes like on a Saturday at 1, which means for someone in Spain, it's dinner time. For someone in California, it's late morning. So, we try to mix and match the time zones, but should they miss it for whatever reason, or it's a bad hour for them, they can watch it recorded. We save those and we record those as well and put those in if they missed it.
The other thing they can expect is for Robin to give them personal attention, even in the group setting. I have been so impressed with watching each person get feedback from in real time in the class. I'll give you an example. We did a class on demos, and we had an experienced audiobook artist in the class. And she wanted to be doing anime, and she wasn't landing those gigs. So she had a professional demo for us to listen to. Robin said, cue it up. Let's listen to it. And she let the class critique it, right? So we listened to this very well done, produced demo. And what everybody learned while they were listening to it is she didn't have any anime in her demo.
It was commercials.
It was commercials, which they were beautiful. They were well done, but it wasn't getting her where she wanted to be. So it's that real-time, real-life feedback that they're getting. Another example was a class in character development. And we all had scripts. I say we because I got to participate that day. And we all got a character, and Robin talked us through how do you develop this character, and then we acted it out with our different voices. And it's just so much fun. And like Robin said, the members of AVA are all in. Like there's no reticence at all. When it was their time to act, they were on that mic in full character.
And that's exciting as an instructor when the class is engaged, and when they write you letters that say thank you so much for that. And there was actually a letter yesterday, Heidi, from someone in the auditioning class that said, I really love the way that you give everyone in the class equal time. And this is from someone that I would have loved to have given more time to. Mm-hmm. This is someone that could have easily taken the stage and stolen the show, but loved the fact that everybody else, the community is amazing and so giving to each other, no matter who they are.